I am really shocked at the difficulty that the designers had with this challenge. Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on the video. This is my review for Project Runway. This is season 18, episode 3. First thing that we actually run into is old Tyler. Tyler is still ticked off at the fact that Sergio's gown was safe and his garment actually fell into the bottom. He was still a little ticked off with that. You know what? Sergio is very arrogant, and that just doesn't help. But this is not the time nor the place. So, listen, Tyler, you got to pick up and you got to move on. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about what Sergio is doing because it'll take you down in the long run. Do you? And some of that kind of carried over. Anyway, this was the unconventional materials challenge. They actually woke them up. And what they didn't even realize that in their penthouse, they had completely dressed the penthouse up in Christmas gear. Like there was Christmas stuff everywhere. And this was the challenge. And it was Christmas decorations. You had to create a holiday cocktail dress. It's a 2-day challenge. You had 10 minutes to strip the room. And they did just that. They stripped the room in 10 minutes. Brittany ended up getting a bloody nose. And, you know, it was that whole thing of personalities. And you know, some people ran through like scavengers and some people kind of were their more timid selves. And it all played out. You know, it all played out. The timid folk ended up with less to work with. You know, it's always that little unfair balance, you know, when it comes to the personality thing. You know, some people just don't have that whole get out of my way, gimme. They don't. I'm not like that. So I could just imagine, you know, how that would actually play out. I'm not, you know, the push, that's mine, how I want, whatever. I definitely know that my mindset with one of these types of challenges would always be, I'm not getting in the kerfuffle of it all. I'm talented enough to deal with whatever it is that I end up getting. And I would just rely on my talent. I'm not getting into a kerfuffle about dragging stuff and trying to grab stuff off of the wall. And there were people with scratches and scrapes. And I'm not even here for all that. So I know, I just know that about me, that I wouldn't be pulling and yanking and diving. And, you know, that's not my thing. Anyway, but I was surprised because, again, Christmas ornaments and Christmas things, decorations, I'm like, child, the possibilities are endless, you know, with that. But there was a lot of struggling going on. Dalvin right away was completely struggling because, one, Dalvin was fighting the challenge itself. Dalvin's mindset is, listen, I am going to be a couturier, period. So his whole mindset is that this whole unconventional materials situation is beneath him. And overall, it hurt him in the challenge. It hurt him. You know, it was like he was fighting the challenge the whole time. Brittany had a problem because at some point she started having problems and Brittany just basically gave up at a point. That's all. I mean, she gave up. She get to crying and all of these things. And I was just looking at her like, come on, you got to pull through. I like Brittany. So I was like, you're going to have to pull through. But I didn't know where it was going because she was going down. As the episode went along, she just continued going down this road. And I'm like, wow. I mean, to the point where when we get to the runway show, she's literally sitting there crying as her garment comes out. Anyway, we'll get to it. One thing that did get on my nerves is how they kept on talking about how Nancy making noise was irritating them because she was literally crushing up ornaments. Stop it. Stop it. That it started to irritate me. I'm watching and it just started irritating me. And I'm like, what do you think it's supposed to sound like when you start messing with, that kind of stuff? Like, if you've ever worked on leather, it's noisy. Suede, fur, any of that stuff, velvet. It's noisy. You're pounding and banging and carrying on at that point. If you've ever done jewelry, if you've done any type of costume, it is noisy. It's noisy. It's messy. It gets everywhere. So what is the problem, really? They were irritating me. I said, if I would have been in that room, I'd have been like, if you don't all shut up, and I mean just shut up now. We're not sitting here making silk dresses and zoop, 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 zoop. Oh, yes. No. We're messing around. Child, there's people with hammers. There's people with pliers. There's wires going on. It's noisy. Like, stop it. Stop it. So, child, what's going on with you all? Making a problem when there doesn't have to be. Making a mountain out of a molehill. Anyway. Throughout this challenge, we started seeing real early on, time was working against everyone except for Marquise. Marquise was rolling through with his dress, and it was just everything for him was just falling in place, and he was really doing it. And he had immunity anyway. So if he would have had a hard time, it would have been no big deal because he had immunity anyway. But nope, he turned out a really good garment. And it actually ended up being one of my favorites. The materials were really giving a lot of the designers quite a hard time. I think the only ones who really didn't have problems were the people who were generally having problems before. Jeffrey didn't have any problems. Sergio didn't have any problems. And Jeffrey has about fallen apart on every challenge. This time he just smooth sailing right on through. So that was really, really strange. But yeah, there's a lot of things that were actually working into this, having a hard time with this, wrinkles and tears and shrinkage and the bulk of the fabrics and things. Yeah, it was giving the designers hell. It really was. It really, really was. I was like, oh my gosh. It was so hard to watch. It was. It was like, I felt so bad for some of them. Yeah, that's basically what we were dealing with. Okay, so not really much to talk about. Let's move on to the runway show. Jeffrey, his dress was literally spot on. It was spot on. It was done with like wrapping paper and ribbons and different things like that. It was spot on. It looked like fabric and it looked expensive. It really did. He did a wonderful job. This is the best thing that he's done since we've started. Like I said, he didn't have a meltdown. He wasn't all over the place. He had just laid into it and just fit in the pocket. And this challenge worked for Jeffrey. This was his best work, in my opinion, so far. Marquise, like I said, everything just worked right in his favor. He did like a plaid top. The top was done with wrapping paper and ribbons, and it had a tinsel fringe bottom. It was really sharp, very, very Tina Turner-esque at a Christmas party. It worked. It was really, really nice. Alan did this whole thing where it was Risky with a lot of construction problems because there wasn't much construction. It was a little bit of ribbon here, a little bit of ribbon there, a couple little feathers glued here, there, not feathers, leaves glued here, there, and everywhere. Very much giving you Greek goddess on a slutty Christmas outing. And then he topped it off with these fur boots. And Christian actually tried to talk him against these boots, but baby, he was so settled on these little fur booties, honey. The fur booties was given very much Charlie's Angels. I could definitely see Drew Barrymore wearing those boots in a Charlie's Angels reboot. So I was like, Shavi. Shavi did the doggone thing. Shavi gave us a whole Betty Boop Christmas situation. It was a whole three-dimensional effect using petals. They were actual flower petals. And they look and velvet. He had like this velvet ribbon that he wove and corseted the dress. And he had his model is a curvy girl. And she's just as cute as she can be. She had the little hair. It was totally giving Betty Boop. And the skirt and the top of the bustier was these three-dimensional petals. Cute, cute, cute. It looks very lush. It looks very velvety. And it looked very expensive. And it worked. It worked. DeYoung did... It just kind of got lost in there, and she just ended up being safe. But her look was very much for a fashion show, and it just looked like an ice princess. It really did. It looked cold. But in the midst of everybody else's stuff, it didn't stick out, but it was good. It really was good. Sergio, I agree with the judges again. Sergio ended up being the winner, because he literally took a basket and created a whole slip underneath, and it was a whole like a ball gown, and he sewed bells, which wasn't his idea. Somebody else actually gave him the idea to take the bells and sew them into the skirt. And of course, he never told anybody that, but it was on film that one of the other designers gave him the idea to sew the bells into the slip. And it actually did jingle jangle, and he did it with wrapping paper, and it was all sewn together, but you couldn't say a thing. It was done exquisite. It really was. The fit and everything, it did not look like wrapping paper. It was done very well, and he let the judges know. Oh no, I can sew really, really well, and that's why. So I said, oh, you are so arrogant. You are so arrogant. It's going to bite you. It's going to bite you, and we're just going to be sitting here waiting and see. But he did a good job. He really did. He won. He was the winner of the challenge. The judges were actually torn between whether it be him or Shavi. Shavi's design was the more sellable, but the materials is what actually got Sergio over. He worked so well with those materials and made them look, like they weren't anything of what they were originally, is how he ended up winning. The judges were not agreeing a lot on what outfit was worse and who they were going to send home. But all in all, when they got through all of it, like I said, I told you, Brittany just gave up. Brittany had given up. The only thing to save Brittany was her past work. Her past work played into her being able to stay. Tyler was in a position where he could have given up, but he didn't. He pushed forward. It saved him. Alan ended up being sent home. Alan is out. And It was the saddest thing, and I knew it would be once because he held it together really well until he got to the back and he seen Dagon and the two of them because they have forged a nice little bond. So I wasn't even looking forward to that. Sure enough, when they seen each other try, they just broke down, and then here I am over there crying like I knew him, honey. I said, "Oh, shut up, you all." It was terrible. It was terrible. It was sad. But Christian even told me, he said, you drove me crazy, but I'm really going to miss you. Yeah, Alan was fun. He really was. He's fun. He's young and he's vibrant and he was fun and he made good TV. He really did. He made good TV. I wish him the best. I think he's going to be okay. There was some taste issues, there, but he's young. He's young. He has time to learn. And he said that in his exit. He said, I thought I was ready, but maybe I wasn't. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. You're going to be fine, though. He definitely has talent, so he will definitely be fine, I believe. All right, you guys. Catch you on the next episode.